Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. As you can see, I'm already in my new setup. I already moved from Munich to Barcelona, and today I will be analyzing the company of Fresh Vine Wine, which, if everything goes as planned, it should be going public this upcoming December 13th, 2021 in the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol VINE. As always, my aim with these videos is to analyze the most relevant aspects of the company based on their SEC filing, which, by the way, in case you're interested, it will be linked down below in the description. And afterwards, if after the video you find the company interesting, you can go and you should go and do your own due diligence on it. With that said, and before I go into the whole analysis, let me quickly give you a short overview of the main topics that I will be covering in today's video. First, I will start with a general introduction to the business. We will also look at some statistics to understand it better. Afterwards, we will go quickly into the industry and competitors, followed as always by the financials, and we will compare the ones of Fresh Vine Wine with those of two competitors, which in this case it will be Duckhorn Portfolio and Constellation, followed by the Ipo Price and Valuation, and we will compare also the valuation of the company with the two competitors I just mentioned now. And finally, as always, I will be giving my personal opinion on the company and my future plans with it. With that said though, and after I remind you that if you enjoyed the video, it would be really super awesome if you could give it a like, and please also consider subscribing if you want to see more videos on upcoming IPOs. But with that said, let's go for it. Fresh Vine Wine is a company that was only founded on May of 2019, so just about 2.5 years ago, and it is a producer of low-carb, low-calorie premium wines within the US, which are crafted and bottled in Napa Valley. With it, they are basically positioned in the better for you category of wines, which is of course increasing in popularity. The varietals include Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Rosé, and they expect to introduce a limited reserve Napa Cabernet Sauvignon in 2022. And moving forward, they also plan to expand further their portfolio. Looking at the exact current portfolio of wines, as you can see on the screen, they have 4 different ones with prices ranging between $15 to $22 per bottle. And the pricing is done strategically because with these ranges, it appears more premium, but still is affordable enough to the mass market. On distribution, they do it through wholesale, retail, and direct-to-consumer. On wholesale, they are already partnered with more than 50 different distributors, and although the company is still very small, as we will see later on, they are already almost in all the states within the US. Something that cannot be left out in this video is that two of the co-founders are Nina Dobrev and Julian Hoch, that if by the name you don't know who they are, maybe a picture will help because most probably you have seen them in TV shows or in movies. They are basically two super influencers with just the Instagram accounts. The one of Nina Dobrev has 24.6 million followers and the one of Julian 4.9 million, and both of them, even if they might not be so involved in the day-to-day operations of the business, they are incredible, powerful tools for the brand itself to do sales and marketing, because as we all know nowadays, influencer marketing works extremely well. Now that we touched on marketing, although the brand considers that their products appeal to the mass market, they center their marketing efforts on the demographic of between 21 to 34-year-olds with moderate affluent income and that are trying to pursue a healthier lifestyle. And most probably this kind of persona, so the type of client that they are targeting, is also a representation of the kind of followers that both of these influencers, Nina and Julian, have on social media. The next important topic to cover is how do they make their wines? Well, first of all, they partner with Jamie Whetstone, which is an award-winning winemaker from Napa Valley. And then on the actual producing of the wines, they don't have any vineyard, so they just buy the bulk juice from other suppliers, and then from that point they take over with the producing part. And in order to produce it, they also have a lease contract with another third-party provider that allows them to use their facilities. So basically they get the bulk juice and then they use some facilities from an external provider to produce their wine. And in my eyes, this totally makes sense because they are a very small company, as we will see later on in terms of revenues. They are just reporting revenues over $1 million, and at this stage I feel like it totally makes sense. At this point, let's talk about the industry. The wines are exclusively focused on the affordable luxury segment, as we commented earlier, which is the fastest growing segment of the wine market according to International Wine and Spirits Research, and it addresses the largest wine drinking segment in the $340 billion worldwide wine market, in which United States consumers spent $53 billion in 2020 for wine produced in the US, with an additional $16 billion spent on imported wines in the US. The industry is large, but as it often happens, also with a lot of competition. In the graph on the screen, you can see the positioning of the top 15 wine suppliers in the US by sales value. And this is extracted from Duckhorn because they actually went public just a while ago. They are also, by the way, a winemaker, the competitor that we will also be comparing it to just in a little while. And if you're interested in watching also that video, it will be here above and also down below in the description. But continuing on the graph, you can see that the main competitors include Duckhorn, of course, Constellation, Dutch Family Wines, E&G Gallo, the Wine Group, Jackson Family Wines, amongst many others. For the continuation of this video though, I will use Duckhorn as well as Constellation because both of these companies are publicly traded. First, Duckhorn, as we could see in the graph before, it is a much more premium brand. Also, they bottle their wines in Napa Valley, so it could be seen as the most direct competitor to fresh vine wine, And then Constellation is a company that owns many different brands of alcoholic beverages, which yes, some of them include wines, but they also have others. Nevertheless, before we go into the financials of these two competitors, let's first go and check those of fresh vine wine. On this, looking at revenues first, we see that during the past year, 2020, the company only had 217,000, and this year so far, for the first 9 months, they have crossed the 1 million mark. This represents an increase of 384.06%, that yes, it is very impressive, but we also need to consider that the company is extremely small still. From these revenues, although in 2020 the majority came from wholesale, during 2021, direct-to-consumer and wholesale are pretty even so far, which is positive because direct-to-consumer usually leads to higher margins for the company. Moving to the bottom line, as it could already be expected, the company is reporting losses which have grown and are significantly larger than revenues. This year, for instance, the large loss has been mostly due to stock-based compensation, as $5.5 million have been paid out so far this year to management. On the balance sheet, this looks pretty bad, with a debt ratio as of September 30th of 112%, meaning that the company had more debt than assets. However, as it often happens, the balance sheet will improve significantly after the offering, as they will raise at the middle point of the IPO around $18.2 million in cash, and they only have currently $3 million in assets, so it will be a great boost to their balance sheet. If we now compare the financials of fresh vine wine with the two competitors from earlier, we see that the two competitors are significantly larger in size and also growing at much slower rates, but these are profitable while fresh vine wine isn't. With it, it's time now to talk about the IPO price and valuation. At the moment of preparing this video, the IPO price is expected to range between $9 and $10 per share, and at the middle point of that, as I mentioned earlier, they are expecting to raise around $18.2 million in cash as of net proceeds from this offering. Also, something relevant is that before this, they have obtained financing to run their operations through a mix between debt and also financing. Basically, they raised on November 2020 $250,000, on January of 2021 another $200,000, and between March and September they raised $2.1 million. Anyways, taking the middle point of the IPO price, the amount of shares outstanding after the offering, and also the sales for the past year 2020, as well as the current ones that they are having so far this year, we have that the company should start trading at a price to sales ratio of around 548 times and a forward price to sales ratio of 113 times. Although the forward price to sales ratio is only based on 9 months, but for a full year probably it will be lower, maybe somewhere standing at around 90 to 100 times, depending on the final numbers reported. In terms of market cap, it would put the total valuation of the company at $119 million, which could be considered a small or almost micro cap. These price to sales ratios are incredibly high, but let's check what is the competition trading at. On it, and based on 2020 sales, Duckhorn trades at 8.14 times sales and Constellation at 4.92 times. After everything that I have shared in this video, what are my thoughts on the company and will I be investing in its IPO? Well, the answer on that, if you have watched other videos, you probably already know it, which is no. This company is still at extremely early stages, reporting almost no revenues, or I mean very little revenues when you compare it to most other companies in the stock market, and aiming to raise capital at a very expensive valuation. That maybe the valuation is not so expensive if they are really able to execute moving forward, but a 90 to 100 forward price to sales ratio is incredibly high. I mean, just this on a P ratio, so based on the profits that the company reports, is already very expensive, but we are talking just about the sales. I mean, this is super crazy, and I would consider already a price to sales ratio of 20 to 30 to be very expensive. Also, just so you get how small the company is, it currently only has 12 employees, partly because they outsource most of the things, but still important to keep in mind. On the other hand, the two most positive points, and maybe they're more competitive advantages kind of thing, is first of all the influencers that are the co-founders, so Nina and Julian, because having a big social media following certainly gives a lot of advantage to the company and is a super easy way to reach lots of people, and those followers usually are pretty engaged, so it's much easier to sell a product through Nina and Julian's accounts of Instagram or all the other social media accounts that they have. And secondly, I also find that the concept of low carb, low calorie wines will work very well, especially seeing the current market trends. Anyways, please remember that everything that I share in this video is based on my opinion, my research, and my calculations, which of course all of them could be wrong, and I take absolutely no responsibility, because you should always do your own due diligence before investing in this or any stock, and I'm of course no financial advisor. With that said though, what are your thoughts on Fresh Vine Wine? Will you be investing in its IPO? What did you think of the company overall? Please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, and as always, see you next time.